He was definitely a nice-looking, fine guy. His eyes was beautiful. His smile just lit up a room. My mom came running down the stairs and let me know that my brother had passed. So I was kind of in shock, not really registering it. Didn't make sense to me.
He was gasping for air. He was foaming at the mouth.
They were immediately struck by a very strong smell of bleach.
I've been on hundreds of crime scenes. We've seen it all. I'd never seen anything like this before.
Crimes like these are usually from somebody you know, somebody you're close with, somebody intimate.
There was a lot of talk in the neighborhood of this girl going around pretty much bragging.
She said what happened to him was payback.
She gets upset, something happens, and she uses violence.
She, in fact, was proud that she had won the fight.
It's a cool March night in 2017 when Chicago PD receives a call from the Inglewood neighborhood on the city's south side.
On March 6, 2017, at approximately 1:30 in the morning, there was a 911 call from a woman who's calling for help to the 6500 block of South Bishop Street.
She tells them that her friend Darius, who's 26 years old at the time, is at her door and he is foaming at the mouth and can barely breathe.
The victim made his way up to the second floor apartment.
He was in the hallway on the ground. They let him in and he crawled inside and lay on his back. Stretched out on the ground, difficulty breathing. He was foaming from the mouth, his eyes were streaming, and his face was blue, like he was lacking oxygen.
The first responders notice a familiar but toxic odor.
There was an overpowering smell of bleach.
The Chicago Police Department ambulance immediately transported Darius to Stroger Hospital, which is one of our best level 1 trauma hospitals.
Darius Ellis was born in 1990 and raised in Inglewood. He grew up with his 10 siblings nearby.
We have a big family. We all grew up around each other. My father made it very clear that he wanted us to be close, so the age gap between me and Darius is only 3 years. My mom likes to call us 2 peas in a pod. We grew up about 4 blocks away from each other. For quite some time, his mom stayed literally maybe 4 to 5 blocks away from my mother, and we were there for 15 plus years. So we were very close, like, to each other. We would hang out every day. He would say I was his little big sister because of the way I treated. Reluctant to tell me things if he did something wrong. That's how much I was more of the serious one, the one that really wanted him to, like, just be his best.
In the 90s, Inglewood was a close-knit community.
We could play all night with no issues, like, till the street lights came on. We played basketball in the alleys with crates and played it and rode bikes and were able to just be kids at one point. And it seemed like at the drop of a dime, everything shifted and we had to worry about shootings and, you know, a lot more violent things.
As Darius grew older, he took an interest in working out and weightlifting.
He's always been really active. He would lift weights. He didn't need to go to a gym. He could set up right at home, like, and he would just get busy. And then the next thing you know, we're getting a blast of pictures with his shirt off. So he had to show off those muscles, those pecs. He would be flexing. He was just proud of the progress he was making, you know.
His physique, combined with his natural good looks, made Darius popular with the ladies.
The ladies loved him. He loved them back. He was fun, outgoing, easy.
And I definitely will say women seen how attractive he was.
At 21 years old, Darius became a father.
Darius' life changed, I feel like, drastically when he had his son. I feel like when he had his child, it gave him purpose. That love I feel like is immediately when Darius had his kid, he made that decision to make sure that he will be in this kid life every day, show up every day, because it was important, because we knew how it was to not have that. That void in our heart, I feel like pushed him to just be the best. He just wanted to be the best he could be for his kid. He was a welder. He was getting into the construction business. Him and another one of my brothers as well. They both were kind of like going tit for tat with that. That was their interest.
Darius worked on various construction projects throughout the city. Darius worked on various construction projects throughout the city.
I remember him telling me about it and just being like, man, sis, I'm doing construction and it's going really well. I did this big project. Like, he was just happy about it, and I was proud of him, you know, just seeing him go for something that he loved doing.
He was well on his way to making himself known in that industry.
His relationship with his son's mother didn't last. In 2015, Darius met 22-year-old Yasmin Elder.
When they met, Yasmin wasn't really interested in Darius. She thought that he was a player. She thought that he had a lot of women. And so she didn't really want to invest her time there. But eventually, he was able to charm her, wear her down, and they entered into this relationship.
Yasmin was a bright spot, but 2017 brought big challenges as well.
He was a welder, but he was living in his van at the time, in between jobs, just down on his luck.
With welding and stuff, it's only certain projects you can get. So I feel like it kind of fell slow for a little bit for him. So he was struggling. Here's the thing though, Darius always have somewhere to go. He could come to my home, open arms, without a problem. And he knew that, he was aware. I just think he was just one of those strong-willed men that didn't want to budge on, you know, asking anybody for too much help. He just didn't want to be a burden. He was a strong man. He wanted to be a man. He was dealing with things.
On March 6th, Darius is rushed to a local trauma center after showing up at a friend's apartment, foaming at the mouth and reeking of bleach. Doctors spend 2 hours trying to save him.
Unfortunately, it's too late. At 3:26 in the morning, Darius is pronounced dead at the hospital.
I was working as and they stated they had a deceased victim at Stroger Hospital. I arrived in the early morning hours. It was probably around 4:00 a.m. And I went to the emergency room where I spoke to the doctor about the details of the deceased, and he stated that the victim had some type of caustic substance poured onto his face and his nose area. He said that the caustic substance that was in his nose and mouth would have burned his throat and caused it to swell, thereby causing him to suffocate.
In the morgue, detectives get confirmation as to what that substance was.
They opened up the body bag and were immediately struck by a very strong smell of bleach. Police detectives inspected Darius's clothing, and there was a very strong odor.
Out of the bag to examine it, and I came across a black hooded sweatshirt that had the distinct spill pattern around the neck area, and it was discolored orange from the black. And through my rubber gloves, I could feel that the clothing was completely soaked. Because of the large amount of bleach involved, this led me to believe that this was not self-inflicted, that we had a murder on our hands.
The detective was able to determine that this was foul play pretty much immediately.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And who the hell would do this to someone? It just leaves you speechless.
In the early morning hours of March 6th, 2017, 26-year-old Darius Ellis dies at a Chicago hospital after showing up at a friend's apartment in distress.
When the detective talked to the doctor said There was extensive damage done to the inside of his mouth and his throat from bleach, and the initial cause of death was asphyxiation.
The police were able to recognize that this was foul play.
I spoke to the patrol officers that were at the hospital. They gave me the particulars of the case, providing me with the name of the victim and the location of where they believe the crime may have occurred. So I finished my investigation at the hospital at that time and then relocated to the crime scene. I went up to the second floor apartment on Bishop and I spoke to a witness who turned out to be a friend of the victim, Darius Ellis.
In the apartment, we have 3 adults. We have Darius's friend, and we have the son of Darius's friend and his girlfriend.
These were the witnesses in the house who helped Darius when he knocked on the door asking for help.
Around 12:30 in the evening, Darius's lady friend heard a knock on her apartment door. And she proceeded to the door and heard Darius whisper in a raspy voice through the door, "It's me, Darius."
When she opens the door, she sees her friend Darius lying outside of her apartment on the ground, arms spread, legs spread, gasping for air.
She could hear his labored breathing. She could see that there was just a white foamy substance coming from his mouth. But what was so surprising and just astounding was that the aroma that was coming from him. And there was just that overwhelming stench of some type of cleaning chemical.
Darius tried to speak.
He told her that 2 men had held him down and poured bleach into his face.
He quickly became unable to talk, but his friend noticed he was still trying to communicate with her.
Darius couldn't talk because he was struggling to breathe, but he held up a cell phone and showed it to this woman. She did not know what he meant by this gesture, but she did know that this cell phone did not belong to Darius.
At that point, the friend became too concerned about Darius's health to try and understand what he was communicating.
She realizes very quickly that Darius is getting worse, so she has no choice but to call 911.
She points out that the flip phone was left behind when Darius was loaded into the ambulance.
The police are able to recover a few things. They get his cell phone, and they also get this flip phone, and they're able to also get his car keys.
Darius's friend says that his silver minivan is still parked in front of her building.
She informed the police of what he had been doing. Lately, he's trained as a welder, but he had been in between jobs and unfortunately living in his van.
I was able to obtain the keys to Darius's minivan, and upon opening it, I was instantly overwhelmed with a very strong odor of bleach. It was so strong that I was unable to investigate the interior of the vehicle without going back to my squad car and getting a mask.
Once inside the minivan, police noticed large amounts of liquid on the windshield, on the passenger seat, and on the floor. Immediately, the police called for an evidence technician to have him swab the liquid and take photographs.
I noticed a spill pattern on the front seats of the vehicle, which caused a discoloration to the darker interior, making it orange in appearance, which matched the same spill pattern I saw in Darius's hooded sweatshirt in the hospital. Upon examining inside the vehicle, there was numerous items strewn about, clothing, and a liquid substance was all over the windshield, the seats, the floorboards, the ceiling, which was indicative of a struggle in a close quarters area.
The detective is able to confirm that this is definitely the scene of the crime.
While it's clear a struggle took place in the van, investigators don't believe Darius's claim that he was attacked by 2 large men.
Seeing the interior of the minivan and how cluttered it was, there was no way 2 big guys were pinning him down inside a minivan. The statement he made to the witnesses and the patrolman's reports led me to believe that he was trying to cover for someone.
All new True Crime Monday.
Darius had a bad habit of smoking cigarettes. And he liked to call me his big little sister because anytime he would come around me, he would forget. And he'll pull out a cigarette and he would forget. And he'll pull out a cigarette and I'll snatch it out of his hand and I'll break it. And he used to be like so upset. He's like, man, I just bought that pack. I'm like, dude, you're not doing that. We're not having that. That's one of the funniest memories I think I have with him all the time. Another one was his will of asking everybody, don't we look alike? Don't we look alike? That's my sister. He was so proud to be my big brother. Like, that was something that I always would like carry with me. Everywhere we go, everybody I introduced him to, he would just be like, don't we look alike? That's my little sister. That's my real sister. You know, so it made me feel like he was just proud to be, you know, my brother. And that meant a lot.
It's high noon.
In March of 2017, Chicago detectives are in the Inglewood neighborhood investigating the bizarre death of 26-year-old Darius Ellis. After processing the van where they suspect Darius was forced to drink bleach, they scour the area for evidence.
We were looking for a carton or something, type of container that could hold the bleach, and we checked the garbage cans nearby, we checked the empty lot.
Before they leave, they ask Darius's friend who the single father spent time with.
She responded that Darius had a history of being a ladies' man, but that lately he had actually been dedicating all of his time and energy to one woman in particular, 24-year-old Yasmin.
Yasmin lived a few blocks away. She was a few years younger than he was. She was living with her relatives, uncle, her grandparents.
Before they talk to Yasmin, investigators learn that the Cook County medical examiner has completed Darius's autopsy.
The doctors concluded that the pH level in Darius's stomach was at 12 to 13, which is more than double the amount of a normal human's pH level.
The chemical makeup or whatever of bleach would cause your throat and mouth to swell so quickly that instantly closes like a fist and you die from suffocating. He couldn't breathe. He died because he got asphyxiated. His findings were that Darius's death was caused by the forced administration of a caustic substance. It's officially ruled a homicide. I've been on hundreds of crime scenes before. Big city detective, we've seen it all. I've never seen anything like this before. This was murder with bleach. Unusual.
Poison him.
As far as who could be responsible, Darius's family is at a loss.
Darius didn't have any enemies. He got along with his ex, he had a close relationship with his son.
To be honest with you, I don't even understand what motive anyone would have to want to poison someone and kill them.
Later that day, detectives ask the woman who called 911 to come to the station for a follow-up interview. She relays a troubling story.
The friend told police that on the night of the incident, when Darius was taken to the hospital, that she walked down to Darius's family's home so that she could relay to them what had happened. On her way to their home, she ran into Yasmin Elder.
She stopped and she informed Yasmin of what had happened to Darius, and Yasmin's response, she laughed.
Yasmin's reaction to what happened to Darius and the state that he was in, the laughter is, it's troublesome.
The police asked Darius' friend if she noticed that Yasmin had any injuries on her body. Darius' friend stated that nope, not to her. She didn't see that there were any injuries noted on Yasmin's body, but did say that Yasmin made mention that bleach had gotten into her eyes and that they were burning.
She doesn't know her last name, but tells police Yasmin lives in the neighborhood and has been in trouble with the law before.
The woman let police know that Yasmin wouldn't be hard to find. She has a distinguishable tattoo on her neck. She does have a past with law enforcement, so she's in the system.
I told my supervisor, I got a hot case going here, and it's domestic related, and we could probably solve it right now. I'm going to ask for help from the day's violent crimes guys, and they helped me out. I threw out that name Yasmin, 4-block area where she lives, and a tattoo on her neck. That's when Civisec put the parameters in, and within
Woman who matches all those criteria. 24-year-old Yasmin Elder.
I was able to pull up Yasmin's arrest photo because just recently she was arrested for battery.
She had been accused of using a metal lock to hit her landlord in the head during a dispute. They find that she's currently on court supervision.
Yasmin now has an established history of being violent. It's sounding like that she gets upset, something happens, and she uses violence.
They take Yasmin's picture to Darius's friend.
Based on all of the information that the police had, they put together a photo lineup and they showed it to the woman, and the woman immediately pointed Yasmin out.
After the witnesses picked Yasmin out of a photo array, we now had probable cause to effect an arrest.
Fascinating statements made by his girlfriend, Yasmin Elder, in the hours after he died.
Yasmin laughed and said to the friend, "He shouldn't have put his hands on me."
Based on all of the information that detectives were finding out about Yasmin, her law enforcement past, the troubles that she's had, the court supervision, the battery charge, it was beginning to look more and more like maybe she did have something to do with this and we need to talk to her immediately.
As investigators prepare to bring Yasmin in, they know that connecting her to the crime could rest in a clue Darius offered just before he lost consciousness.
He couldn't speak, so what he did was he had a phone in his hand, he held it up, and they knew that the phone wasn't his.
He was holding a phone in his hand. When they asked, "Who did this to you?" What happened? All Darius could do was point to the phone in his hand.
The key to the whole case was Darius holding up that phone.
Armed with an arrest warrant, police head back to Inglewood to look for Yasmin.
So we quickly went to the last known address where we believed Yasmin was staying, which was her grandmother's house. Yasmin wasn't home at the time, but her grandmother did state she was staying there. After speaking with the grandmother, we were able to have her sign a consent to search form in order to search the area where Yasmin was staying, looking for evidence.
They're able to go into Yasmin's room and do a search, and what do they find? They find a pair of black pants that are covered in red stains that seem like bleach stains.
Speaking to the grandmother stated those were the clothes she wore the night before when she came home and changed. We seized the pair of pants and had them recovered by an evidence technician to test the liquid stain on the pants.
Yasmin's grandmother doesn't know where she is.
We told her we'd like to speak with Yasmin, and we left our business card with her, and then we left.
Word hits the street that the police are looking for Yasmin. But the rumors are already running wild.
It was a lot of things being said in that neighborhood. Like I said, everything was close. It was a lot of talk in the neighborhood of this girl going around pretty much bragging about it. I don't think any of us knew about Yasmin. I've never met her. So I didn't know, I had no recollection of this lady whatsoever. I didn't know who she was, to be honest. I didn't know anything of her into this situation. But we were looking for her, essentially. Like, we were trying to get her in custody. We were trying to figure out what this woman was.
Time was very important because we were afraid that she might try to flee the state or flee whatever, because she has to know she's a wanted person.
It appears that Yasmin does know that she is being sought after by police.
Several hours later, we were contacted by Yasmin saying she was willing to speak with us.
After getting that call from Yasmin, police immediately went to her home and arrested her.
She was very cooperative, turned herself in. Yasmin was transported to detective headquarters, where she was placed in an interview room and placed under video and audio surveillance. She was Mirandized, stated she understood her rights, and she was willing to speak with the detectives.
Detectives have a lot of questions for Yasmin.
In my entire career, there are very few incidences of people dying from ingestion of bleach.
It's just not understandable. Bleach. This is what killed this man. Bleach was poured down his throat. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And who the hell would do this to someone?
A well.
Due to the totality of the circumstances, I believed what we had was a domestic relationship murder with a crime of passion. Several times you have murders and somebody gets shot once or twice, but when you come across somebody who has an intimate relationship with someone and they're hurt, they sometimes conduct what we call overkill. They will stab a victim several times, not just once or twice. They will continue to shoot them, not just once or twice. And when you have a caustic substance used in a murder like this, all signs would lead to believe that they had some type of romantic relationship with each other. Yasmin's statement to Darius's friends that he shouldn't put his hands on me sounds like payback to me.
After Darius Ellis dies from forcibly ingesting bleach, Chicago detectives question the main suspect, his girlfriend, Yasmin Elder.
So once the police arrest Yasmin, they ask her what was the relationship like between her and Darius.
They were on and off. They saw each other, but it wasn't serious. About a month before the incident, they decided to get serious, and they were in fact engaged to be married.
Yasmin told detectives that she and Darius had been dating on and off since 2015, but at the beginning of 2017, they finally decided to get engaged.
But instead of happiness, the decision brought instant drama.
Darius and Yasmin both were experiencing some insecurities around the relationship. Even though they were supposed to be committed, they both were in fear that there were other people involved on both of their sides. Yasmin believed that Darius was a ladies' man. Darius had caught Yasmin texting an ex-boyfriend and had some insecurities around it. Yasmin was also very upset that in 2 years she had never met his family and they were about to get married.
It just became a toxic relationship. He just became so much more enraged, so much more jealous. He would accuse her of cheating, and sometimes he got physically abusive, according to Yasmin.
Yasmin told police that the physical violence had increased over the last 2 weeks prior to the incident. That in fact, 5 days prior to the incident, while at a laundromat with Darius, that Darius caught her texting her ex-boyfriend on her cell phone. Darius became so enraged that he choked her.
When detectives asked Yasmin why she didn't report any of these domestic abuse before, She said that she was under supervision for a fight that she had unrelated to this incident and was afraid that police just wouldn't believe her.
She says that by the night of his death, tension between them was high.
Yasmin told police that on the night of the incident, Darius had picked her up around 12:30 a.m. on the morning of March 6th. During their ride home, Darius became enraged because she was in fact texting the ex-boyfriend again during the ride.
He pulled over, came out of the car, ripped her out of the car, and threw her to the ground. Yasmin says she got up again, but he grabbed her and threw her down a second time. Yasmin told detectives that she was screaming for help and that Darius picked her up and forced her back into the van.
And
grabbed both her arms, punched her in the thigh and in the back of the head. Darius pulled over, and now it was a physical altercation. He was punching her, he tried getting on top of her, but Yasmin grabbed his hair and was pulling him and eventually got him on the ground between the seats.
Yasmin stated she was able to overpower Darius by pulling him to the ground by his hair and then pinning him there with her knee using her weight. She also made a statement that she said, "At this time, I was winning the fight."
Saying things like, "I'm winning this fight," implies that in this moment, Yasmin felt vindicated in what she was doing. She felt like, maybe you've done this to me before, and this time it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna stand up for myself.
When police asked Yasmin how she was able to overpower Darius, she told police that she weighs 207 pounds. And at the time of Darius's death, he weighed 130 pounds.
The fight continued into the back seat of the minivan, at which time Darius swung a plastic bottle at her that she said contained bleach, but she blocked it.
Yasmin wasn't sure if Darius was attempting to hit her with a bleach bottle or attempting to splash her with the bleach.
Yasmin feels like she has to fight. She's in survivor mode. So while Yasmin's knee is still on Darius's waist, she's able to gain control of the bleach and take it away from Darius. At this point, she starts to pour the bleach all into Darius's mouth.
Yasmin related she then jumped out of the minivan and heard him gasping and trying to breathe. And he called out to her, "I can't breathe, I need to go to the hospital."
She, despite hearing this, continues to walk away. And a moment later, she states that he got behind the wheel and drove off.
Yasmin related that she walked for a little while and then got onto a bus and went back to her neighborhood.
After all the questioning during the interrogation, it never came across to me that Yasmin was fearful for her life. It almost seemed like she was in control of this fight the entire time and could put an end to it anytime she wanted to. Not once during the interrogation did she ever say she was fighting in self-defense. She said, "He started hitting me, and I fought back, and I was winning."
She, in fact, was proud of the fact that she had won the fight.
In Chicago PD's Area South Detective Division, Yasmin Elder has just admitted that she was in a physical fight with her fiancé the night he died.
Yasmin stated as the fight went on that Darius grabbed a plastic bottle containing bleach and he went to hit her with it. She stated she was able to obtain this bottle somehow, at which time she used it to pour into his mouth.
Yasmin claims the fight came after suffering abuse at Darius's hands in the weeks and minutes before the fight.
She told police that she had gotten bleach in her eyes, that Darius had bit her on her hand, and that he had punched her in her thighs as well as had hit her in the back of the head.
After speaking with Yasmin and the statement she made about receiving injuries from Darius, we photographed various parts of her body, and none of the photographs revealed any type of injury. There was one bruise on her thigh, and we also noticed a red mark on her hand that we believed was a burn from a caustic substance.
There are no bite marks on her body. There are no obvious signs of a struggle. There's nothing around her eyes to substantiate these claims.
Nor is there any proof that Darius ever laid a hand on her.
We didn't see anything that would indicate that happened. And why hadn't she ever made a police report before? Why hadn't she told anyone else before?
But the most powerful moment in the interview with Yasmin comes when detectives present her with the flip phone Darius held up in his final dying moments.
When presented with the evidence of the flip phone, Yasmin agreed that it was indeed her phone. Darius, in essence, solved his own murder.
Investigators now believe that Darius's initial claim he was attacked by two men was an attempt to save Yasmin.
When he thinks he's going to survive, he wants help, but he's not going to tell him that it was his fiancée, Yasmin. So he says it was two black guys who held me down. He didn't think he was going to die. He just wanted help. He didn't want her locked up.
But then Darius realized his situation was more serious than he thought.
Didn't want to get her in trouble at first, but as he's dying and he realizes he's dying, he then tells the truth. The state's attorney's office interviewed witnesses and reviewed reports and all the evidence, and on May 7th, 2017, charged Yasmin Elder with 1 count of first-degree murder.
First-degree murder charges in Illinois carry a minimum of 20 years in prison up to 60 years in prison. First-degree murder requires intent.
Set at $1 million.
I do recall my brother letting me know. He did make us all aware that she was in custody.
Darius's family is stunned by the truth and by Yasmin's claims that she and Darius were engaged.
If they were planning to be married, one of us would have known. Darius is close to his siblings. Me, my brothers, we all spoke frequently on the phone. Whether we seen each other or not, we talked. We were very close. So if he was planning any type of engagement or proposing to someone, I definitely feel like we would have known. You say that you guys are engaged and you were shopping for a wedding dress and all of these great things. Why would you want to poison someone that you love?
On February 13th, 2020, Yasmin pleads guilty to second-degree murder.
The negotiation between her lawyer and the prosecutors in this case resulted in a plea agreement of 15 years, which was 5 years below the maximum sentence that could be had in second degree.
We held up our end of the bargain as the Chicago Police Department. We did a thorough investigation. We put the facts together, and we put a person in prison who committed the murder.
When Yasmin ran into Darius's friend, what she told the friend was that Darius should not have put his hands on me, that what happened to him was payback for what he had in fact done to her.
I think that her response of he shouldn't have put his hands on me was a person that is trying to justify something that they did. Like, no one has proof of Darius ever putting his hands. She didn't have any markings on her body. She didn't have any bruises, any of those things. This is a strong man. If he's putting his hands on you, you will have something to show for it. You had none of that. So at that point, I think that it was her way of just giving people a reason. Oh, this is why I did it. So it could be justified maybe as payback. This is why I did it. But I really feel like it's not payback from him abusing her. I think it's payback from him denying her and her being jealous of what he had going on.
Not once did I ever feel that she felt guilty about what happened.
But for the people who love Darius, the justice is short-lived.
Yasmin Elder received time credit for serving 31 months prior to her trial and was released on parole in May 2024.
She should have not only served 6.5 years. She killed my brother in cold blood.
In spite of Yasmin's release, the Ellis family continues to honor Darius's memory.
You lose a lot when you lose someone, and the Inglewood community, Darius's family, they all lost a great human being.
He embodied love. Just know he would have been great. He would have been the amazing person he always was.
Darius was only 26 years old. Imagine when you were 26, you got a whole life left to live. And he also leaves behind a fatherless 5-year-old.
He was so determined. He was passionate about the things he was good at. And I think he would be an exceptional father. And I'm still making sure I keep his name alive. And I plan to do even more in the future. I'm just gonna keep going, like we were always taught. Never give up.
When you're young, it's easy to give your heart away.
When she met him, she fell head over heels in love.
But promises of a bright future can be blinding like the sun.
Two of them had handguns, one had a shotgun.
I was begging for her life. Oh my God.
This is not the type of incident that happens every day.
When your vision finally comes into focus, how do you see through the irreparable damage?
I have so much potential and I can't tell you.
She just made a terrible mistake by getting involved with this guy.
I love him, so I feel like I have to protect him.
December 2nd, 2015, Fayetteville, Georgia. Just 3 weeks before Christmas, residents of this quaint Atlanta suburb have settled in for the night.
Fayette County is just south of Atlanta, about a 35-minute drive. It's an area of residential homes with wide open spaces.
It's also a nice area to raise families and just enjoy the quiet side of Atlanta area.
But just past midnight, the calm of Fayetteville is shattered.
A woman named Shirley Rodriguez calls 911 in a panic.
They came in here, 3 guys banged on the door. I went to open the door and they were masked and I don't know.
Okay, well, you said they banged on your door and they were wearing masks. What happened? Did they take something? Did they assault you?
They came in, they took our TVs, phones. They didn't see mine. He was playing the guy at me.
Are you
and her husband.
Are you hurt, ma'am?
Oh, God, no. Just get somebody here, please.
The operator keeps Shirley on the line as Fayette County deputies and investigators race to the home.
Ma'am, how long ago did this happen?
This happened 10 minutes ago. They're gone.
Did they have any weapons that you know of?
Yeah, they were pointing weapons at us.
How many people are there with you, ma'am?
Me, my husband, and my daughter. They all was pointing guns at every one of us. I was begging for our life. Oh, my God.
I have help on the way to you, okay?
Fayette County sheriffs and deputies, when they arrived, there was no sign of the people that invaded the house.
There's an initial investigating officer, a uniformed sheriff at this point, and they go and they secure the scene. They talk to the victims, and they get their statements as quickly as they can.
Shirley Rodriguez, her husband John, and Shirley's 18-year-old daughter, Brittany Sharp, are all in shock.
The investigators could clearly see that the family was traumatized and upset about what happened to them.
They were very, very shaken and disturbed.
This is not the type of incident that happens every day. It was traumatic, and the investigators tried to calm them down.
As the family settles down, they slowly tell investigators what happened that night.
John tells the police that him and Shirley were in the bed and a knock happened at the door a little after midnight. So Shirley gets up and goes to the door.
She went to the window, looked out, saw 3 males standing on the porch. 2 of them was wearing a mask. One of the masks was a clown mask, and one of the males was concealing his face with a bandana.
The mother realized something was off, so she did not open the door. She went back and told her husband that there seemed to be somebody on the door trying to play a trick.
As soon as she went back to tell her husband, they kicked the door in.
The 3 men tear into the home.
2 of them had handguns, 1 had a shotgun. 2 gentlemen went into the room where the mother and father were and held them at gunpoint.
She said that all the males were shouting commands. It was like, give it up, give it to us, or we'll kill you.
One of the guys asked Shirley, where are your cell phones?
And then the other gentleman who had the shotgun went into the daughter's bedroom. He told her to get up out of bed.
Brittany said that male took her 2 cell phones and her purse.
John says after taking their cell phones, the intruders started ransacking the place.
John said one of the males fired a shot, and everything got quiet.
John and Shirley Rodriguez got married in April 2002. And Shirley brought her 2 daughters, Tiffany and Brittany, from her previous marriage into the relationship, making them a family of 4.
Together, they all lived in Stockbridge, Georgia until August 2013, and then they all decided to move to Fayetteville, Georgia. John got a new job as an operations manager at a local trucking company.
By 2013, Tiffany had moved out and started a family of her own. But 18-year-old Brittany was still living with Shirley and John.
Brittany was about to graduate from high school and had dreams of doing something after graduation that will allow her to take care of others.
While Brittany planned for the future, she had the full support of her family.
Even though John wasn't her biological father, she still called him dad, and he loved that and embraced that with open arms. Together, the Rodriguez family was one big happy family.
But the family's bliss is now overshadowed by a disturbing home invasion. The family tells investigators after they heard the gunshot, they were too afraid to move at first.
The family said when they thought the males had left, they came out of the bedroom.
They immediately noticed personal items all over the place and some electronics missing.
However, they missed Shirley's purse, which contained her phone, and she was able to call the police.
The family says they have no idea who the men were and never saw their faces.
Shirley said the males were at least 6 to 6'4" tall. She said all the males were wearing gloves.
Investigators have a feeling this might not be random.
Police believe that this may have been a personal hit.
December 2nd, 2015, Fayetteville, Georgia. Investigators have been called to the Rodriguez home after 3 masked men broke in and robbed the family at gunpoint.
Police really believe that this crime was personal and it's probably some type of vendetta against his family.
Detectives immediately gather evidence, hoping it will lead to the identities of the 3 men.
Police, where they started processing the scene, there was damage of the door being broke in.
Investigators do find a spent 9mm casing, and it was by the front door where they saw a bullet hole.
In this situation, officers will be looking for anything that the suspect might have touched, anything that they discarded, anything that might have been left at the scene, anything that might lead them in the right direction.
Investigators asked the family for a detailed list of everything taken.
The robbers took 2 TVs, a speaker bar, and a PlayStation, a radio, several cell phones, and a lamp. They also took a trophy, a wallet with multiple credit cards, as well as Brittany's purse.
The total value is just over $3,000. Investigators tell Shirley and John to immediately cancel all their missing credit cards. Officers canvassing the area find their first potential lead.
One of the neighbors did have video surveillance running from their home.
While they download the footage, more leads start coming in.
Within an hour or so, they started getting other information. Mrs. Rodriguez got an alert that her card was trying to be used to buy a gift card on a site called gift.com.
Investigators contacted the website, and they was able to get the IP address of where the attempted purchase was made.
Then detectives discover that about 2:28 a.m. that someone tried to use John's credit cards at a large retail store. And that was about 20 minutes away from where the crime happened.
Investigators were able to pull the video surveillance from the retail establishment.
There were 2 girls on video, and they tried to use some of the debit cards from the invasion, and they were all declined.
Who were these women, and what connection do they have to the home invasion?
The video did reveal that when the girls left, they got into a red vehicle.
Even though the license plate was hard to read, investigators pull out a bolo to other agencies to be on the lookout for the red vehicle.
They also alert the public that the suspects are armed and dangerous. At the same time, investigators review the footage from the Rodriguez's neighbor's camera.
The investigators are able to see that the red car from the store is the same red car that they see driving through the neighborhood of Shirley and John Rodriguez during the time of the robbery.
And then just before midnight, that red car came into the neighborhood, followed by a silver car.
The 2 cars drive past the home twice. But investigators still can't make out the license plates.
Investigators see that at 12:07 a.m., the 2 cars drive straight to the Rodriguez home. And then a few minutes later, they notice that the porch light comes on at the victim's house.
At this point, investigators can see several silhouettes on the front porch, entering and exiting the home.
At 12:14, both cars hightail it out of the neighborhood.
Investigators now believe there are at least 5 to 6 people involved in the home invasion robbery.
Investigators also show the video of the 2 young women using the stolen credit cards to the Rodriguez family. They recognize one of the girls.
There was a feeling at the time that this occurred that there was a more reckless and disrespectful rise in crimes against people's homes. And in particular, we've had burglaries, but this, when you go into someone's home, when they're home, and threaten them and do what these people did, that was a line that the community would not tolerate.
Investigators in Fayetteville, Georgia are on the hunt for several people responsible for a home invasion that occurred on December 2nd, 2015 at the Rodriguez home.
Investigators have surveillance footage of a red vehicle then being followed by a silver car. Investigators also see the same red car at a retail store where 2 black women were seen trying to use the family's stolen credit cards.
When they show the retail store footage to the family, investigators luck out.
Brittany said she recognized one of the females as 22-year-old Ariel Clark.
Born in 1993, Ariel Clark was raised in a close-knit family.
I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was just me, my brother, my mom, and my dad.
Ariel was a sweet girl, and everyone who met her loved her. She had a lot of friends.
I was very perky and happy and laughing and goofy all the time, but extremely serious about school at the same time.
Ariel knew exactly what she wanted to do with her life.
I wanted to be a nurse. My mom is a nurse. I spent a lot of time in the hospital because I have sickle cell. I just wanted to take care of other kids with sickle cell and give back to the nurses that helped me.
After Ariel graduated high school, her family relocated to Riverdale, Georgia, just 20 miles north of Fayette County.
I got into Georgia State and I majored in health science. I worked with my mom as a greeter at Piedmont Hospital and just volunteering a lot to see how it is working in a hospital as opposed to being a patient in it.
Ariel spent most of her time at school, the hospital, or with her cousin, Krista Clark Davis.
Me and Krista were always together, going out and hanging out and stuff.
In fact, it was Krista who introduced Ariel to someone special, 17-year-old Kedrick McGee.
We actually met because I called Krista and I needed a ride to go somewhere. So we just got in the car and me and Kedrick sat together and talked nonstop. He was tall and he had nice curly hair and was very charismatic and very, very, very intelligent. And we got along very fast.
He swept Ariel off her feet. She just fell in love, head over heels.
But Ariel's family wasn't so thrilled with how she spent her time, and she decided to make a bold move.
I was young and in love at the time, and I wanted to be out all times of the night, and we were not agreeing on that, so I left.
Ariel bounced around from place to place with her cousin. But one thing she was sure about was her boyfriend.
Kedrick was the first person I felt like I would marry and spend forever with.
After 2 years together, Ariel's future with Kedrick looked bright. But now, the 22-year-old has been identified as one of the women attempting to use the Rodriguez family's stolen credit cards. Brittany tells detectives that she recognizes Ariel because her friend used to date Ariel's boyfriend.
Once investigators find out Ariel's name, they search the database and they find out that she has no criminal history at all.
Investigators wonder if Ariel is also the one trying to buy gift cards online with the stolen credit cards.
Investigators learned the home address associated with the IP address, and that location is 20 minutes from the robbery and about 12 minutes from the retail store.
Just over a week after the home invasion, on December 10th, 2015, detectives head to the address and set up surveillance. Once there, they see something familiar.
In the driveway, they see the same red car that they seen at the robbery and at the store.
When the detectives run the plates of the red car, they find out the vehicle's owner, and it's Ariel Clark.
Then, investigators observe the men leaving the home. They get in the red car and drive off.
On December the 18th, at about 11 a.m., Clayton County Police and Fayette County Sheriff execute a search warrant at that address.
They pretty much recovered, I think, 90% of the items that were taken from the Rodriguez home.
They also find a bandana, which matches what the Rodriguez said one of the robbers wore over his face.
With that information, they obtained an arrest warrant for Ariel.
On January 6, 2016, investigators arrest Ariel at her job and bring her to the police station.
All right. Do you know the reason why you're here today?
One of the first things they asked me was about the credit cards. I found some cards a few weeks ago.
Okay, what kind of cards were they?
I can't even tell you. I just know that I found them.
Ariel states she found the cards in the parking lot of a retail store and tried to use them there.
Who was with you?
My cousin.
What's her name?
Krista.
The detective confirms the second woman in the retail store surveillance is Ariel's 17-year-old cousin, Krista Clark Davis. But he doesn't buy the rest of her story.
Ariel, I know you're lying. Yes, ma'am. I know where them cards came from. Because evidence doesn't lie. Now's your time to tell me what happened.
On January 6, 2016, the lead detective investigating the terrifying home invasion of the Rodriguez family is questioning 22-year-old Ariel Clark.
Ariel, I know you're lying. You know how I know? I got your car on video because evidence doesn't lie. Now's your time. Now's your time to tell me what happened.
They explained to her that the family is scared, traumatized. They can't sleep at night in their own home due to what happened.
But Ariel still refuses to talk.
I want you to sit there and think about what happened.
At the time, it was very emotional. I guess it's still kind of emotional.
Why don't you just tell me the truth and be honest with me? Tell me what happened.
Ariel finally breaks her silence.
Whose idea was it?
I'm not sure.
Why that house?
I don't know. I honestly don't know why they chose Brittany's house because of her best friend dating Kedrick. She knew who I was, but I had never seen her before or knew who she was.
Ariel reluctantly admits that she was there and names the 5 other people with her. Ariel says 20-year-old Eugene Gino Butler was driving her red car with another guy she didn't know.
What did he look like?
Just light skin and some dreads.
She says she was in the silver car with her cousin Krista. The car belonged to another one of her cousins, 19-year-old Camry Glaspie, who was driving.
Ariel said she was in the backseat with her 19-year-old boyfriend, Kedrick McGee.
Ariel is hesitant to throw her boyfriend under the bus. Then she drops a bomb.
She says she feels bad because she loves Kedrick and she's about to have his baby.
How far along are you?
I think like 4 or 5 weeks. I decided to speak with the detective because of me thinking about my child. I didn't want my kid to feel like I put something or someone else above them.
Ariel states that she was hanging out with Krista, Gino, and Kedrick that night, before they met up with Camry and the man she didn't know.
And then who went to the door?
Kedrick, Gino, and the other person.
Ariel describes Kedrick as wearing a black mask, and she said that Gino was wearing a clown mask with red hair. She said that his friend was wearing a bandana around his face.
After everyone was in the house, Ariel admits that she and her cousin Krista went in.
And then, I was helping take stuff.
She says they put everything in Camry's car.
It was just a bunch of running and screaming, and my heart sank, and I felt terrible. To be completely honest, I feel like I kind of blacked out for a moment. Yeah, and it all happened so fast, and then next thing, everybody's running to the car.
So you ran back to your car?
Ariel was very naive, and she didn't understand what she was caught up in. She knew that she had probably done wrong by going in there, so she knew that she was in trouble.
Ariel says Krista got in the car with Camry, while the rest of them piled in her car.
Ariel says that after the home invasion, they dropped off the stolen items at a friend's house.
Ariel tells the detective that she and Krista then took Kedrick home and went to the store to try and use the stolen credit cards. Oddly, she doesn't mention that someone fired a gun.
But the problem is, the big problem is, who fired that shot? Because that just made it go from here to here. Did you hear it? You don't know who shot?
After that, they arrested me and they locked me up. It was a lot of emotions. I cried a lot.
Investigators believe that she's still not telling the whole story.
Of course, when you love somebody, you want to protect them.
Fayette County investigators have just arrested Ariel Clark after she confessed to helping her boyfriend, Kedrick McGee, the father of her unborn baby, and 4 other people commit a home invasion. They confiscate her phone to track down the others involved.
The investigators needed to verify Ariel's statement, and they also needed the name of the third robber.
Then, on January 11th, 2016, before investigators even reach out to the others, 2 of them call the station.
The investigators then received a call from Ariel's cousins, Krista and Camry, saying that they wanted to come in.
Krista and Camry, they were less forthcoming. They basically denied or played down whatever they knew.
Krista does admit that she was with Ariel at the time that the stolen credit cards were used, so investigators were actually able to use that and charge her with fraud.
Investigators don't have enough to charge Camry and let her go.
And then a couple hours later, after the police interviewed her, her mom called and said, "Camry wants to talk to you again."
Camry tells a similar story to Ariel's. She admits she was with Ariel, Kedrick, Gino, and Krista, but she doesn't know who the third guy was either.
There was some discrepancy about who was in which car, but ultimately it was pretty clear that the boys went to the home together in the red car, girls went to the home in the gray car.
That's when Camry says she saw them get out with masks on and realized what was about to happen.
She really, really did not want to be there. She actually tried to drive away, and Kedrick stopped her and said, "Don't go anywhere."
But Camry says she was too far away to really see anything.
Camry said she heard a loud noise and she assumed that they kicked in the door. And she heard someone yelling and screaming. And then they came out and they put all the stuff in her car.
And then they told us to hurry up and drive. We had drove off and I just heard gunshots and I got like super scared.
The next day, after spending a night in jail, Krista decides to come clean too.
I did not go in the house at all. That's the thing I did. I didn't go in the house. They said to come at the bottom of the steps, and then they started handing me the stuff.
But Krista admits that Kedrick may have been the one with the itchy trigger finger.
Like when the gunshot happened, like it was nobody in the house. It was only Kedrick in here.
So Kedrick fired the shot?
And then they drove off, and then Kedrick caught up with them.
She said Kedrick threatened everyone to keep their mouth shut.
Why that house? Did he ever say why that house?
Mm-mm.
Although the third man remains a mystery, with the two girls verifying Ariel's statement and filling in some holes, police now have enough for arrest warrants for Gino and Kedrick. With the help of the Marshal's fugitive task force, 2 days later, they find them both. The detective speaks with Kedrick first.
If you had anything to do with that, you need to tell me now.
I think I'll speak to a lawyer.
With Kedrick refusing to talk, the detective hopes Gino will be more cooperative.
Eugene started out with, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that. What day was it?" And those sorts of things.
After realizing the serious trouble he's in, Gino tells the detective that it was all Kedrick's idea.
He was like, "I'm about to go get Brittany house and all this stuff."
Why did he pick Brittany?
Gino tells the detective that Kedrick used to date Brittany's friend.
I guess they don't like them. Like they got problems going on.
Gino said that he did not want to do the home invasion.
So I assumed they were gonna take me home, but they ain't take me home.
His story of how he ended up at the house is also like the girls. But he gives investigators a gift: the identity of the mysterious third man.
They had went to go pick up the other dude.
What's his name again?
Amirius Westmoreland.
Gino tells the investigators that the third person was their 17-year-old cousin, Amirius Westmoreland.
What did Amirius say?
He agreed with it. He said, "All right."
Gino tells the detective that after they drove to the house, he felt pressured to go in. Gino claims that Kedrick gave him the clown mask, the gloves, and a gun from his trunk.
And I kept telling him, I ain't want to do this.
Got the new iPhone 17.
January 2016, Fayetteville, Georgia. Ariel Clark's boyfriend, Kedrick McGee, and Eugene Gino Butler have both been arrested for the home invasion of the Rodriguez family. Gino comes clean to investigators about what happened that night.
Ultimately, it was Eugene's version that made the most sense, chronologically and proximately.
What kind of gun did you have?
He says he and Kedrick had handguns, and Amirius had a shotgun.
Amirius, he knocked on the door, And that's when Kendrick had kicked in the door and ran in there.
Gino said that he followed Kedrick into the bedroom of the parents and that Kedrick pointed the gun at both of them.
But he was like, get down, don't move.
Gino tells the detectives that Amaris went into Brittany's room with the gun. He pointed the gun at her and took her phone and her purse.
Gino confirms that both Ariel and Krista went into the home. After they put all the stuff in Camry's car, he also confirms that Kedrick fired the gun.
He was still in the house?
By this time he had shot, then he had ran.
With Gino's statement added to Krista and Camry's, it's clear to investigators that although Ariel confessed, she still tried to shield her boyfriend.
She didn't admit that he had a gun on him. She acted like she didn't see him break the door in. She left out that it was his idea and he was the one that fired the gun. She seems to still be protecting him.
She still maintained a loyalty. That's why she did not tell and disclose that her boyfriend was the one that actually shot the gun.
I love him and I don't want him to get in any trouble. So I feel like I have to protect him.
On January 19th, 2016, police find Amarius Westmoreland and bring him in.
Amarius' statements were, I was just along for the ride. I didn't really know what they were doing. And ultimately, he agreed that he did it.
With the last one in custody, investigators charge all 6.
Ultimately, they were all charged with armed robbery, all charged with aggravated assault, all charged with credit card fraud, and all charged with burglary.
The 3 guys are also charged with possession of a firearm during a crime.
The Rodriguez family was so relieved when they found out that they had been arrested. They felt like justice had finally been served.
Despite their ages, if convicted, they all face serious time.
Me loving him as much as I do, I felt like I had to be there to make sure that bad doesn't go to worse. In my mind, I felt like somehow I could stop things or prevent it from being even more complete chaos.
Instead of going to trial, Ariel decides to make a deal and pleads guilty to burglary.
It was a 10-5 where I would have 5 years to spend in the prison and then 10 years on probation.
I was able to convince the prosecutor that she was more of a victim than she was a defendant in this case, that she was caught up with a boyfriend who was running with some bad people.
The others decide to make deals as well. Krista receives the same sentence as Ariel, but Camry's charges are dropped.
Camry, who we decided to dismiss all the charges against because she really was called in completely after the fact. She did not go in.
Instead, she pleads guilty to making a false statement to police and receives 3 years probation. The boys don't get off so easy.
Kedrick McGee ultimately pled to an armed robbery, followed by 10 more years for aggravated assault, followed then by 10 years of probation for participating in the credit card fraud. He's currently still serving his sentence.
Eugene and Amarius also received 20 years, plus 10 years probation.
They did not plead to armed robbery. They pled to aggravated assault and burglary, as well as the theft charges, which means they are eligible for parole much sooner than Kedrick is.
However, nothing can take away the terror and the anguish that this family experienced in their own home. Your home is your safe space.
In 2018, Ariel was released.
I ended up doing about 3.5 years in the prison, and then I got out on parole in August 2018. I am still currently on probation. I was released when my daughter was going on 2 years old. It was an amazing feeling. If I could do all of this all over again, I would just make sure that I have it in my head that I can't save everybody.
Love can feel like the sun is always shining on you. But staring at the sun too long can rob you of your sight. False dreams and bad decisions can leave a woman to pick up the broken pieces of what could have been a promising future.
She refused to let her disability define her.
She wanted to master American Sign Language.
She enrolled in the Rhode Island School for the Deaf.
She was able to form friendships.
And she also found a new love.
They shared so much in common.
He was quite the gentleman.
She just falls head over heels for him.
They were the perfect match for each other.
But when she turns up missing, her family fears the worst.
It was out of character for her to not stay in close touch.
Please, you need to help me. Something was wrong.
Evidence leads detectives to another man in her life.
Their communications have been very flirtatious.
Maybe this is a relationship that nobody really knows about.
But the truth is even more vicious than anyone imagined.
It was a bloodbath.
Just the brutality of a murderer.
March 1st, 2013. It's Friday morning in Harlem, New York, a trendy Manhattan neighborhood famous for its rich diversity.
Harlem is historically a black neighborhood, and it remains true today.
It has its own culture. Everything from the food to the people to the music playing out of cars. It's a completely different experience.
A lot of immigrants from Spanish-speaking countries like the Dominican Republic have come into Spanish Harlem on the east side.
You can feel a sense of history when you're there.
But today, the mother of one young immigrant feels only worry as she's frantic to find her daughter.
That morning, the NYPD got a call from a woman in the Dominican Republic named Valentina, who said she thinks her daughter Frances is missing.
My name is Valentina.
Frances was a 19-year-old girl who had recently immigrated from the Dominican Republic.
She said she was deaf and has been living in New York for the past few months.
What makes you think she's missing?
She was supposed to be back already.
Valentina tells police that the day before, her daughter had planned to travel home for a visit, but she never showed up.
When's the last time you heard from her?
Yesterday morning. She said she was gonna see us soon.
She tried calling and texting, but wasn't getting any responses from Frances.
Her mother was becoming concerned that she hadn't received any communications from her.
At first, police are hesitant to get involved.
Has she done this type of thing before?
No, never. Never.
The initial response from the NYPD, somewhat understandably, is not to be so concerned because she's an adult.
She could have changed her mind. She could have missed the flight.
But Frances's mother insists they look into it.
It was out of character for her daughter to not stay in close touch, especially with a flight coming so soon.
Mothers have instincts. They know their children.
Please, you need to help me.
Frances' mom knew there was something wrong.
She is convinced that something has happened to Frances.
Growing up in the Dominican Republic, Frances Pellerano always dreamed of seeing the world.
Frances was a girl with a sense of adventure.
She loved meeting new people and seeing new places.
But meeting new people wasn't always easy.
It was really hard for her to learn sign language and just didn't have many people to connect with. But Frances was very determined to not let her disability hold her back.
She wanted to expand and learn more about how to operate in this world.
She decided to come to the States to attend the Rhode Island School for the Deaf.
And when she arrived, it was everything she had dreamed of.
It was like a college campus. She developed community, she developed friends.
She began to thrive. She enjoyed playing on the school's basketball team and soccer team.
And she really honed her skills, her ability to American Sign.
She was able to really start finding herself.
But she was still searching for something more meaningful.
Like many young people, she wanted a boyfriend.
So she looked to the internet for love.
She joined a couple of social media groups for deaf people, and she quickly started to connect with one guy in particular.
She began exchanging messages with a handsome 24-year-old man from New York City named Bismarck Ligow.
Although he was a little bit older, they shared so much in common. He's also Dominican, he's hearing impaired.
Bismarck was able to understand her in a way she never felt understood before.
After a few months of messaging online, Frances and Bismarck decided it was time to meet in person.
In December of 2012, on winter break, Frances decided to go and visit Bismarck in New York City.
She decides to take a bus from Rhode Island and meet this person who seems like a match made in heaven.
And he was just as engaging in person as he was online.
They went out, just enjoying everything that New York had to offer.
Manhattan, during the wintertime, specifically the Christmas season, it's every young couple's dream. You have the lights, you have the music playing, the stores.
Frances hadn't experienced anything like this before. She'd never been to New York City. It was really exciting for her.
It was Bismarck, it was the environment, it was the time of year. She just fell in love with all of it.
She even extended her trip to the city to meet Bismarck's family.
They actually spend the holidays together.
His grandmother welcomed Frances into the home and made her feel a part of their family.
But as her visit drew to a close, Frances couldn't imagine her future without Bismarck.
She's so smitten by this new boyfriend of hers, and she decides that she doesn't want to go back to Rhode Island.
So he asked her to stay, and Frances agreed.
She knew she found the man that she was going to spend the rest of her life with. So she put her education on hold and made the move to New York.
They were starting their life together.
She wasn't going to let anything get in the way of them being together.
But now, their promising future could be in jeopardy.
Frances's mother.
Not what my daughter usually does. She would definitely reach out to me.
No, you don't understand. She's not here. Something must have happened.
She knew immediately that something was wrong.
Okay, I'm gonna pass this.
Eventually, after much insistence by Ms. Pellerano's mother, the NYPD began an investigation as to her disappearance.
Because she was hearing impaired, law enforcement has said, okay, could this person be in some kind of harm?
But are they already too late? When the report lands on the desk of detectives, they make a chilling realization.
Hey, pull up a copy of that report from last night.
The night before Valentina called in about Frances, police got a report about a body found in the East River.
This body appeared to belong to a young Hispanic woman between the ages of maybe the teens to the early 20s.
She matches Frances's description.
After immigrating from the Dominican Republic, 19-year-old Frances Pellerano was flourishing as a student at the Rhode Island School for the Deaf.
She came to Rhode Island with all the wonders of any young person.
She was able to find the community that she wanted.
She'd also met the man of her dreams, a 24-year-old New Yorker named Bismarck Lithgow.
The two instantly connected.
Before long, they were living with each other in New York.
Frances was so happy.
But now, instead of boarding a flight home to visit her family, Frances has mysteriously vanished.
Frances's mother told police she hasn't heard from her, even though she told her mother that she would be flying home.
But before NYPD detectives begin their missing persons investigation, they quickly make a disturbing discovery.
The night before Frances' mom called the police, a body had been found in the East River.
The body that was found was a Hispanic woman, late teens to early 20s, long black hair, thin, and unfortunately, this did match Frances's description.
Could this be Frances Pellerano?
There's only one way to find out.
The NYPD asks Ms. Pellerano's family for photographs that they can use to compare.
However, when they compare the photos, they're back at square one.
As it turned out, it wasn't Frances.
There was still hope that she is still alive.
So detectives doubled down on their search efforts.
They started checking in with hospitals and jails in the area to see if Frances could be there, but no one had any record of her.
They decided to subpoena for her bank records, her social media accounts, her phone records, just to see if there was any indication of recent activity.
While they wait for the records to come in, detectives circle back to Valentina for any information on her daughter's personal life.
Ms. Pellerano's mother tells them that the person they should probably speak to is Ms. Pellerano's boyfriend, Bismarck Lithgow.
She said they had met only a few months ago online in a support group for the hearing impaired, but had gotten really close.
Valentina had called Bismarck when Frances didn't show up, and she said he was worried too. He said as far as he knew, Frances had boarded her flight the day before.
Hoping to confirm Frances's last known whereabouts, detectives track down Bismarck's address and pay him a visit.
This is only going to take a few minutes, ma'am.
They went and they spoke to Bismarck and used an interpreter, and he appeared to be very upset.
Bismarck seemed very concerned about Frances's whereabouts.
So the last time you saw Frances was before her flight?
Yes, she said that. She was going home to see her family.
He appears to be generally cooperative and answers their questions.
She didn't call you when she got home?
No, I haven't heard from her since she left.
Bismarck says that everything was fine between the two of them.
When detectives ask where he's been for the last 2 days, Bismarck says he hasn't gone anywhere out of the ordinary.
I work nights and during the days. I'm here.
Can anyone vouch for that?
Yes, my grandmother.
He goes to work, plays video games, goes to bed, and then pretty much repeats the same cycle.
As for the couple's relationship, Bismarck tells detectives that it couldn't have been better.
He'd let them know that they've been together for a few months and they are happily in love.
He also says he and Frances have big plans for the future.
We've been saving to get our own place.
They had many plans beyond just living with his grandmother. Frances was going to find a job so the two of them could launch out on their own.
He's working full-time. He wanted to be able to take care of her.
We're going to take a look around.
At the end of their conversation, Bismarck agrees to let the detectives have a look around his apartment.
He said he had nothing to hide.
They didn't see anything that looked suspicious.
Excuse me, everything okay?
While detectives were looking around, Bismarck's grandmother approached them. They explained the situation to her, and she was clearly shaken.
But she is able to confirm Bismarck's alibi.
As far as she knew, the only place that he had been besides work was the bodega down the street.
which means he couldn't be responsible for Frances's disappearance.
Detectives realized that this was a dead end.
Luckily, they don't have to wait long for their next lead.
All right, great.
Police get the results back from the subpoena and were able to go through her phone records. They're just looking for any recent activity.
They didn't spot anything unusual in her messages, but her phone had stopped pinging the same day she had disappeared. And the last place they could locate it was somewhere in Upper Manhattan.
However, detectives make more progress when they shift their focus to Frances's bank accounts.
What they don't see, interestingly, is the purchase of any tickets for flights or for any travel.
There was
to consider a new possibility.
Maybe she does not want to be found.
What if the flight was just a cover story and Frances was just trying to disappear on purpose?
And she was not doing it alone.
They see from her phone records, Ms. Pellerano was communicating with another man.
They were flirting back and forth.
Things were really heating up between them.
They're wondering maybe he's the reason for her disappearance.
By the Rochester Institute of Technology found that deaf students were 1.5 times more likely to be victims of relationship violence than people who can hear. Additionally, it is often more difficult for deaf individuals to seek help due to communication barriers. Pellerano was reported missing. NYPD detectives have learned that the young woman had a new man in her life.
They were reviewing all of the materials received from the subpoenas, and they saw some flirty messages.
They see Ms. Pellerano was communicating with a man named Reggie Taylor.
Her and Reggie were flirting back and forth. Maybe this is a relationship that nobody really knows about yet.
Maybe she has suddenly just decided to go be with him.
This could have been her way of breaking things off with Bismarck.
Now police have to reach out to Reggie Taylor and hopefully he can give them some answers.
After pulling Reggie's address, detectives drive out to Long Island, hoping to find Frances.
Is Frances here?
Frances? No.
He was unfortunately alone and not with Frances.
When was the last time you saw her? I've never seen her, actually.
He explains they had discussed meeting up sometime, but he had yet to actually meet her.
When detectives break the news that Frances is missing, Reggie seems taken aback.
Missing? What do you mean? No one's seen her since Thursday. You know, I think that's the last time I talked to her.
Reggie tells detectives that she never texted him back.
He just thought she changed her mind and was ghosting him.
They consider his response to be genuine.
He also says he has no idea what could have happened to her.
He doesn't know anybody that would have wanted to do anything to her.
Did she ever mention her boyfriend, Bismarck?
Nah, I think I remember she said she had a boyfriend.
But when detectives ask to look inside the house, his answer is surprising.
He declines to let them look around. He tells them that they have to have a warrant.
I know my rights, and you're wasting your time here anyways.
This raises suspicions for police.
Detectives are perturbed by the fact that this person with nothing to hide is not letting them look around for proof.
On top of that, Reggie doesn't provide a very concrete alibi.
He said he hadn't left Long Island in a few days.
Can anyone corroborate that? No.
At the time that she was missing, he just got off work and spent the rest of his night at home alone.
While it's not the best alibi, they also have nothing to bring him in on. So for now, they just have to take his word for it.
When detectives return to the city, they run a background check on Reggie. And based on the results, they have good reason to be skeptical.
When they looked up Reggie, he had some restraining orders.
They never resulted in any kind of charges, but we're seeing a pattern here. Prior bad acts with other women.
And detectives are confident that when they check Reggie's alibi, it won't hold up.
They moved to get cell site location data from the telephone companies to see if they can go back and track Mr. Taylor's movements, see if maybe he was in the same place as Ms. Pellerano during that time period.
However, the fact that Francis was talking to a new man also raises another possibility.
Now investigators are wondering, did Bismarck find out about Reggie?
When they talked to Bismarck, he said they had a great relationship. They were looking forward to their future together.
But detectives won't have to take Bismarck's word for it.
Detectives, this man is here to talk about Francis Pellerano.
Francis's friend, Luther, from the Rhode Island School of the Deaf, traveled to New York and spoke with police.
He explains that he considered Francis Pellerano to be his best friend, that they had been friends at the school in Rhode Island.
They became really close.
Did she ever mention Reggie Taylor?
No, I don't know him.
What about Bismarck Lithgow?
What about Biz? Yes, I know him.
He said he was controlling, he was invasive.
Their relationship was getting out of control.
Luther tells police that Bismarck definitely had something to do with this.
New York City detectives have learned that 19-year-old Francis Pellerano was involved with two men at the time of her disappearance, Bismarck Lithgow and Reggie Taylor.
Both men had told detectives they had nothing to do with her disappearance and didn't know where Francis could be.
But now, Francis's best friend, Luther Ramos, has told detectives that he thinks Bismarck is lying.
Bismarck had made it seem as though everything was perfect, but when Luther spoke to police, he gave a completely different story.
According to Luther, he'd been there for Francis since the beginning of her relationship with Bismarck.
Luther didn't feel comfortable allowing Francis to travel to New York City alone.
When Ms. Pellerano made the decision to go down to New York to meet Bismarck for the first time, Luther went with her.
You met him in person?
Yes. I thought he was an honest man, a good guy.
After meeting him, Luther felt comfortable heading back to Rhode Island while Francis spent the holidays with Bismarck.
He said that he seemed to have good intentions and Francis trusted him.
But Luther also tells detectives he thought they were moving too fast.
He was not in support of her moving to New York City so soon after meeting Bismarck.
They hardly knew each other. I didn't think it was a good idea.
He wanted to vet him out a little bit, but Francis was determined. She was in love.
Luther says he wishes he'd been wrong. But it wasn't long after her move to the city that Francis and Bismarck started having problems.
As the relationship progressed, she started to tell him more about what she was experiencing.
Bismarck wanted to know everywhere she went, what she did, who was she involved with.
She was explaining to him that Bismarck was controlling. Sometimes he was very possessive, even abusive.
Francis felt trapped, and she knew she needed to get out of there.
Luther says he tried to convince her to come back to Rhode Island.
He was advocating for Francis to return to school.
I told her she can move in with me. We can make it work.
Supportive relationship.
And he thought his efforts to persuade Francis were paying off.
Francis told him she was ready to get out of there.
She decided that she would reach out to her family and maybe see if they could send her enough money so she can get back home to Dominican Republic.
I think her mom gave her money.
Based on everything they've just heard, detectives are now even more suspicious of Bismarck.
Now the police have two takes on their relationship that are contradicting one another.
At the same time, Reggie Taylor still isn't cooperating with the investigation. So who's the suspect here?
When Reggie's phone records come in, detectives get their answer.
Reggie's phone showed that he was being truthful. He hadn't been anywhere near the city in the last few days, and there was no evidence that they'd ever met in person.
Which moves Bismarck to the top of their suspect list.
He had an alibi, but it wasn't airtight. He could have snuck out the house and did something to Frances while his grandmother was asleep.
And when they start digging into Bismarck's past, they find even more cause for alarm.
They discover that there is a previous domestic incident report involving a relationship of his in the past with a woman named Diana Figueroa.
They reach out to Diana explaining that they have a missing woman and that they'd like to know if there's possibly any information that she could give.
Diana was more than willing to speak to the police because she knew Bismarck in a way that other people didn't.
When she sits down with detectives, Diana tells a story that sounds eerily familiar.
She explains to them she went online and started looking for a romantic partner there. She did, in fact, discover Bismarck Lithgow.
He seemed like such a sweetheart.
He was quite the gentleman. He would take her on dates.
He was always smiling. He was always interacting with people positively.
But she says Bismarck also had a darker side.
After a while, I started to see the real him.
What do you mean by that?
Diana was very well acquainted with his mood swings.
She said that he would go through her emails. He wouldn't allow her to go out by herself.
What are you doing? What is this? It's me leaving. For good.
She had experienced that to the point where she just couldn't take it anymore.
He started accusing her of cheating on him, and she decided, I'm breaking up with you. I'm finished.
I'm done.
But she says Bismarck wasn't.
He started making threats.
If he wasn't in her life, she wasn't going to be in anybody else's life.
I think he even tried to have me killed.
NYPD detectives investigating the disappearance of 19-year-old Frances Pellerano have just received damning information about their prime suspect, Bismarck Lithgow.
Detectives found an ex of Frances's boyfriend, Bismarck, through a domestic violence charge that she had against him, and they brought her in for questioning.
She said they had a very tumultuous and conflicted relationship.
He just was overbearing, overwhelming, and possessive.
It's me leaving. For good. I think he even tried to have me killed.
Diana hears a rumor saying that somebody has a hit out on her.
She didn't think they were serious. That sort of thing just doesn't happen in real life.
Worry didn't come through her until another acquaintance told her the same thing.
At that point, she says she knew it had to be more than a coincidence.
Did you report that to the police?
No. I didn't think anyone would ever believe me.
As precaution, she decided that she was going to move with some family.
She ended up relocating to New Jersey, where Bismarck would not be able to track her down.
She never had any real proof, but due to their relationship and hearing the situation going on with Frances's disappearance, she has no doubt in her mind that Bismarck is involved.
And after hearing Diana's story, detectives are just as convinced.
Bismarck was clearly a dangerous guy. And if Frances was still alive, they were going to have to move fast in order to help her.
Police now find it necessary to find Bismarck and have a second interview with him.
But when they show up at his apartment, their suspect isn't there.
They go to his grandmother's house, and she says that he's not home.
Do you know where we can find him?
He's in the hospital.
Bismarck had been committed to a psychiatric facility.
Bismarck's grandmother says he'd been acting strange since Frances disappeared.
He just seems so nervous all of a sudden.
In fact, instead of sleeping in his own room, he wanted to sleep with her.
She thought Bismarck was anxious because Frances was missing.
She just thought maybe he was a bit worried.
I didn't know what to do, and I thought he needed some help.
She took him to the hospital, but when she got there, he said that he was feeling suicidal.
He was admitted there to the psychiatric ward.
The detectives make it their business to get to the hospital as fast as possible.
But when they arrive, detectives don't get the answers they're looking for.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
He's asking for a lawyer.
After being read his Miranda rights, he decided that he didn't want to speak unless he had some kind of lawyer present.
That's a huge red flag for detectives.
Maybe he wasn't having suicidal thoughts. Maybe he was suffering from having a guilty conscience.
But without a confession, detectives are no closer to finding Francis.
Bismarck was acting suspicious.
Still, there was no evidence of foul play.
They still don't know what happened to Frances or even if she's still alive.
However, when they pull Bismarck's phone records, they uncover a possible clue.
His phone log looked pretty simple. It was his grandmother, which was explainable, and there was also his boss. And there was only one suspicious activity.
In the days leading up to Francis's disappearance, Bismarck had been texting with a man named Alvin Kane.
Alvin Kane was a known criminal that lived in the same building as Bismarck.
Did Bismarck go after Francis the same way he did Diana?
Was he trying to reach out to Alvin for a hitman?
To find out, detectives bring Alvin in for questioning.
When they talked to him, he said he didn't know anything about a woman named Frances Pellerano.
He seemed reluctant to speak to them. He just didn't want to be involved at all.
This is your chance to tell us what went down.
As detectives press him, Alvin reluctantly comes clean.
To us, it looks like you were involved with whatever happened to Frances.
As the police expressed to him that Bismarck had already, they believed, carried out a heinous crime, Alvin had no choice.
All right, fine.
He didn't.
I didn't want to get mixed up in anything.
Alvin didn't know if Bismarck had a problem with someone or if there was a reason why he felt the need to protect himself.
To detectives, Bismarck's intentions were clear.
Detectives believed that he wanted it to do something to Frances.
It showed that Bismarck had a plan.
And detectives are about to discover that this time he'd followed through.
Detectives received the word that Bismarck's grandmother had just called 911.
What she found was appalling.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
It was Frances's dead body.
Individuals checking your phone, checking your emails, following you really denotes a disturbance in them. And with Bismarck, he felt like, listen, this should now be your life. I should be your life. We have to remember the role that rejection plays in cases like this. This relationship was his life. And so he was in a space where her leaving was more than devastation. It was more than the end of a relationship to him. It marked the end of his life.
Detectives searching for 19-year-old Frances Pellerano have just received an urgent call that confirms their fears.
Bismarck's grandmother had just made a frantic call to 911.
They found Frances.
She'd found the body of Frances in the apartment where the two of them had lived.
And not in the condition they'd hoped.
She was getting laundry from the guest room when she noticed something unusual.
There was a mysterious blue storage drum she'd never seen before.
It was a huge barrel, maybe about a 50-gallon barrel. So she took a look.
Police arrive on the scene and they quickly confirm that it is Frances's body.
Judging by her remains, Bismarck's efforts to obtain a gun hadn't been successful.
They were able to see multiple stab wounds to her body.
It's clear he made little effort to conceal his crime afterwards, too.
Beside the barrel is a bag, and it has bloody sheets, bloody clothes, and what appears to be the murder weapon.
There was a big folding hunting knife that had blood on it.
And on the top bunk, they find their crime scene.
The mattress was soaked with blood.
This was the location of the crime.
After the coroner removes Francis's remains for autopsy, further testing of the room reveals the extent of the brutal crime.
If you use the luminol, even if he tried to use bleach to cover it, the luminol is going to choke any traces of blood.
It was a bloodbath.
Though it had not been immediately obvious to the naked eye, there are a significant amount of blood stains.
It was really unbelievable, just the brutality of it.
So you want to call the mom?
Yes, so.
It's devastating news for Francis's family.
They called Val.
Get justice for her little girl.
And when the DNA results come through, they drive the final nail into Bismarck's coffin.
The DNA on the murder weapon did belong to Bismarck.
Detectives returned to the psych hospital and took Bismarck into custody.
They had everything they needed to charge Bismarck Lithgow with the murder of Francis Pellerano.
When his trial begins on February 4th, 2015, the prosecution paints Bismarck as a jealous man who chose murder over watching his girlfriend walk away.
They believe that Bismarck found out that Francis wanted out of the relationship.
He was determined that she ain't gonna get away like the other one did. He was gonna make sure that he had the last say.
He started looking for a gun. He was formulating a plan.
But prosecutors assert that his plan was interrupted.
He found the money and figured out Francis was trying to get back to the Dominican Republic. He felt like he was running out of time.
So he acted quickly.
That night, after his grandmother went to sleep, Bismarck confronted Francis.
She told Bismarck that she was going home.
That caused him to fly into a rage.
And he really becomes aggressive and has that mentality that if I can't have you, no one's gonna have you. He didn't think, he acted in a rage.
He was intent on ensuring that Francis felt the pain that he was feeling inside.
Francis was stabbed over 38 times with a fatal stab wound right in the heart.
With every stab, he remembered the betrayal. How dare Francis want to leave him?
Then, once she was dead, Bismarck tried to hide what he'd done.
He had cleaned up the room and hid her body in a plastic drum that he found in the complex's basement.
Every day he thought about, what am I gonna do with this?
When Bismarck's attorneys present his side to the court, it's less of a defense and more of an excuse.
The defense is what's called extreme emotional disturbance. And it is kind of when something happens to you that's so traumatic, so upsetting that you essentially lose control of yourself and you do something that you wouldn't normally do.
However, when the jury renders its verdict, it's clear there's no doubt about Bismarck's guilt.
They only took about an hour and a half, and collectively they agreed that Bismarck was guilty of second-degree murder.
The judge sentenced him to 21 years to life in prison for destroying the lives of Francis's family and for taking away the life of dear Frances.
But no amount of punishment can make up for the fact that Frances Pellerano's life ended in tragedy before it ever really began.
It's a shame that this young girl who had everything in front of her had her life cut short by a very short relationship.
Frances didn't deserve what happened to her. No one deserves that.
It's not easy to do. There's a lot of strings attached. But at the end of the day, abusive relationships get worse.
We have to remember that when you see the very first red flag, that is when it's time to act. We don't have to stay in situations that can cause us harm.
Tulsa, and because it is such a growing city, you know, the crime kind of grows with it.
The growing crime rate keeps the Tulsa Police Department busy.
Police were working on a case where a man named Carl Duke Harris had been shot in a gang-related incident.
We were investigating the shooting, and the victim at that time was not expected to live, had multiple gunshot wounds.
What police don't know is that they are about to get a phone call that will take this case in an even darker direction.
So the Tulsa Police Department receives a tip through Crime Stoppers that there was a possible murder that had occurred that the police department was unaware of.
The caller tells police that 23-year-old Courtney Palmer had been beaten to death in an apartment.
The name is familiar to police.
We have an active case going with Courtney Palmer.
Courtney was a witness to the shooting of Carl Harris. Police had been trying to contact him for a few days to give a statement.
Courtney Palmer had been involved in other crimes, but he was not known to be a violent criminal.
The caller tells police that not only was Courtney brutally beaten to death, it gets worse.
The caller says that Courtney's body was fed to pigs.
We've had at least one more victim that has allegedly been fed to the hogs in Muskogee, and that person has never been found. So that Crime Stoppers tips definitely has some legs to it. We take it seriously at that point.
Despite Courtney being a criminal and having a long rap sheet, most of the officers were fond of Courtney.
Courtney is kind of a mainstay. Even though he's 23 years old, I knew him when he was 8 or 9. He ran the streets and I was working patrol.
Unfortunately, when Courtney was a teenager, he kind of got involved with that street life.
Courtney got roped into the wrong crowd and made friends with members of the infamous Crips gang.
Despite his criminal involvement, Courtney was well loved. He was known as a jokester. He was known for his smile, that he can light up any room that he walked in. He can lift anybody's mood if they were feeling down.
He was gang related, but it was obvious to us that Courtney cared about his family. His family cared about Courtney.
Courtney was a father to 3 children. They were the #1 priority in his life.
Courtney was a family guy. He had 2 daughters and a son. He stayed actively involved in his children's lives. The children were by 2 different women. Even though the relationships didn't last, he still stayed engaged with his children.
Courtney had a big heart. He would do anything for anybody. Just a very generous person was the impression I got about Courtney.
Everybody kind of knew Courtney Palmer. Courtney has some issues, but he was always respectful.
So who would want to kill this young father? And why? Police asked the tipster for more details.
So the anonymous tipster alerts police that Courtney was killed because there were rumors on the street that he was involved in setting up Carl Duke Harris, who was shot.
Police knew Courtney was a witness to this shooting, but this was the first time they heard he may have actually been involved.
The tipster claims a woman named Charletha Mack lured Courtney to her house 2 days after Duke Harris's shooting. This isn't the first time police have heard the name Charletha Mack.
Allegedly, Courtney Palmer was at Charletha Mack's house up north. We know that house. There's other killers that have been in and around that house. So when that name comes up, it leads credence to the Crime Stoppers tip. It just starts steamrolling that. All indications is that Courtney is going to be dead.
Tulsa police officers know they need to speak with 39-year-old Charlitha Mack as soon as possible. They obtain a search warrant and rush to Charlitha's home, hoping the tipster was wrong.
We go up and knock and announce at the door. I was the supervisor on that warrant, so I was outside the front door.
The door slowly opens, and Charlitha Mack appears.
Charlitha's demeanor at the time of the search warrant was initially defiant, that could not believe we were there. So what? Was what I remember her telling me. So what?
Charlitha claims she had no idea what happened to Courtney. She hasn't seen him in days.
Police execute the search warrant, looking for any signs of foul play.
The house is not in disarray to the point where you would expect if a murder had occurred, a beating like we heard. We don't find Courtney, we don't find evidence that Courtney has been killed.
But Sergeant Walker and his team don't give up that easily.
We had included our crime scene folks coming with us as part of the service of the search warrant. That doesn't always happen, but we knew we were going to need their expertise in luminoling.
With the help of the luminol, crime scene investigators are able to uncover evidence in the bathroom that was invisible to detectives' eyes.
The luminol that was in the bathroom reacted in several places. The bathtub, the bathroom sink. So that lets us know that it's not just somebody that nicked their finger and they bled a little bit and they wiped it up. It kind of is reminiscent to a beating, and that's a key part into our investigation.
There's evidence that something extremely violent happened in that room.
This has started us to believe that we've got a murder and we've got people hiding it, so it's just going to be a matter of time.
November 17th, 2016. While investigating the shooting of Carl Duke Harris, police in Tulsa, Oklahoma, have received a tip that Duke's friend, 23-year-old Courtney Palmer, has been beaten to death and fed to pigs.
Many people believed that Courtney had been involved in setting up Duke when he got shot, but police did not believe that that occurred.
The tip has led them to the home of Charlitha Mack, where the tipster claims Courtney was killed. Though Charlitha contends she has no idea what happened to Courtney or where he is.
Her demeanor was one that we would expect of somebody that's been talked to by law enforcement before, used to getting her way.
However, there are clear signs of a violent altercation in Charlitha's bathroom.
This was not a lot of blood, but it was a significant amount to know that what our investigation was leading us to is true. Somebody got beaten in the bathtub, on the tile, and at the bathroom sink.
As CSI documents the findings, Charlitha Mack is taken back to the police station for an interview.
Charlitha, once she was in the interview room, finally decided that the truth was about the only thing that she could keep straight. Her lies were just not going to hold up. And that's usually the case. So when she started telling us what happened, it fit absolutely with the investigation.
Police asked Charlitha about her relation to Courtney Palmer.
Charlitha tells police that Courtney often hung out at her house. He had a baby with her niece, and she considered him like a nephew.
Charlitha says on the night in question that there were two other people staying at her house, 39-year-old Gerald Lowe and his girlfriend.
Mac, when we interviewed her, only knew Gerald Lowe. She knew Gerald Lowe's girlfriend, but did not know her identity. And of course, when she lies about one thing, we're gonna call a liar on that one too, but she was stuck with the not knowing.
Charlitha explains that Gerald, like many others in their circle, was angry about the shooting of their mutual friend, Carl Duke Harris.
Gerald believed the rumors that Courtney had something to do with Duke getting shot.
Charlitha says she doesn't think Courtney was involved, but Gerald was adamant that he was to blame.
Around 3 a.m., Courtney showed up to Charlitha's house.
She explains that Courtney just pops in, and that's totally understandable for Courtney's behavior. Courtney would show up when Courtney showed up, and he's obviously feeling a little bit triggered by the shooting of Duke, and he's talking to Mac about all that.
Charlitha tells police she had no idea the horrors that Gerald and his girlfriend had planned.
Gerald quickly got violent with Courtney. He was slapping him around, kind of pushing him around, trying to get some understanding of what happened, his involvement with Duke.
As Gerald was assaulting Courtney, he encouraged his girlfriend to get involved. Once she got involved, she took things to a whole new level.
The woman sat on Courtney's lap, straddles him, and takes out a pocket knife and slashes him on the cheek.
Charlitha says the couple used the knife to force Courtney into the bathroom, where things got even worse. Charlitha says Courtney was telling them he had nothing to do with the shooting, but they wouldn't relent. She says she was in a state of shock, too terrified of Gerald and his girlfriend to intervene.
She could hear them beating him for several hours.
She gave gruesome details as what was going on, and she allowed that to happen. I mean, it is her house. At any point, she could have called 911. It's hard to feel sorry for Mac at that point.
She confirms that Gerald's girlfriend left the residence at one point, went to the convenience store down the road to get bags of ice. When the girlfriend arrived back at the residence, Gerald forced Courtney into the bathtub where it was filled with cold water and ice, and Courtney was forced to remain in the bathtub.
They then poured boiling hot water on Courtney as well.
Finally, with a rush of adrenaline, Courtney leaps out of the bathtub and tries to fight for his life. The tussle progresses into the hallway.
When Courtney started fighting back, Gerald grabbed him and began strangling him, at which time the girlfriend began to kick Courtney in the face and chest.
So at some point, Courtney stopped moving, he stopped breathing, and it was at that point Courtney was dead.
Charlitha says that she was petrified. She watched as Gerald and his girlfriend grabbed blankets to wrap Courtney's body and loaded it into a plastic tub.
They took it out to Gerald's white pickup truck.
Gerald and his girlfriend then drive away.
Police asked Charlitha where the couple went. Was Courtney actually fed to pigs, like the Crime Stoppers tipster reported?
As for what happened with the body after that, Charlitha said Gerald told her that he got rid of the body in a rural area outside the city.
With only one name to go on for now, detectives put out an APB for their new prime suspect, Gerald Lowe, and his white pickup truck.
Gerald had a long rap sheet, which included multiple drug charges, as well as multiple offenses of assault and battery.
But who is his girlfriend and alleged co-conspirator? Detectives are about to get one step closer to finding that out.
She's walking through the store like she doesn't have a care in the world.
There's no doubt this is their girl.
Of course, all murders are tragic, but boy, the way it happened, who it happened to, is kind of tragic. Courtney Palmer is one that sticks out. You just have to say that name and we know what you're talking about. A lot of us knew Courtney Palmer from when he was a little child. Courtney was respectful to law enforcement. I mean, he was doing illegal things, but he wasn't doing them to us. So that hurts us just a little bit.
In November of 2016, detectives investigating Courtney Palmer's disappearance and possible murder have just gotten a lead on two suspects. 39-year-old Gerald Lowe and his unidentified girlfriend.
Gerald has a long history with the law, but law enforcement are still trying to figure out who his girlfriend is and where they are now.
A witness to the crime, Charlitha Mack, has told police the gruesome details that she claims led to Courtney's demise. But one detail in particular piques detectives' interest.
During Mac's interview, when she finally decided to tell us what happened inside the house, she said at some point the girlfriend went to the Quick Trip to get some ice. And that really is a key piece because at the Quick Trip they're going to have a video surveillance.
Detectives let Charlitha go, for now, and retrieve the convenience store surveillance footage from the night of November 16th.
As they're viewing the footage from the surveillance, they see a white pickup truck pull into the lot in front of the convenience store. The same vehicle that Gerald has been known to drive.
The suspect is wearing a distinctive hooded sweatshirt with Cal written on it. You know, and we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Not that Cal is unusual, but it's not prevalent in a Big 12 state, you know, so we're not going to see a Pac-10 state come in.
The surveillance video shows the woman casually walking through the store, purchasing snacks along with 4 bags of ice. She makes the purchase and then leaves the store.
Detectives conclude this must be Gerald's mystery girlfriend, but they still don't know her name.
Once we get Lowe identified from the interviews and the information and all the surveillance video that we're gathering from the Quick Trip, everybody gets sent this information with those pictures on it. So maybe somebody knows that and will eventually call us and give us some information.
Not long after releasing the still photographs to the media, police get a tip. But it's not on the girlfriend. It's about Gerald.
The tipster says he has seen Gerald Lowe at Monica Scott's apartment. Monica just happens to be Courtney Palmer's ex-girlfriend.
Could Monica be Gerald's co-conspirator? Perhaps she started a relationship with Gerald after ending things with Courtney.
Detectives head to her apartment in hopes of getting to Gerald Lowe before he makes a run for it.
That information led us to the search warrant of Monica Scott's apartment. We knocked on the door. She answered the door.
When detectives arrive at Monica's apartment, they find her, but there is no sign of Gerald Lowe.
It's also clear Monica isn't the woman from the convenience store video.
We had talked to her, told her why we were there, and she was very cooperative at that point.
Detectives show Monica the images of the woman from the surveillance footage, and she is able to identify her right away.
Monica immediately identifies the woman as 25-year-old Michaela Riddle.
Michaela Riddle had kind of a rough life. She didn't have a very good upbringing. I think she had been abused in different ways. So she didn't have a very good life.
Michaela had difficulty holding down a steady job. That meant she had to couch surf from friend to friend's house to keep a roof over her head.
What Michaela really longed for was a man to help take care of her.
Then she met Gerald Lowe. Although he was a decade older, he was handsome and charming and had a smooth demeanor.
Unlike Michaela, Gerald had a decent upbringing, but he chose to rebel and live a life of crime.
Gerald Lowe, he was a very polite, very respectful young man. He used to do construction work and carpentry work, and that's how I knew him. And so I don't know that he had such a difficult background where he couldn't have done something different with his life.
Gerald was connected to the local chapter of the Crips, and he had a lengthy criminal record. But he kept Michaela safe. He made her feel comforted and protected.
The two quickly became inseparable. Gerald didn't have a home of his own, but Michaela didn't mind. She was used to the couch surfing lifestyle.
Michaela's hope was that they'd be able to lift each other up and forge a happier future together.
Even though they didn't have a house of their own, as long as they had each other, they were home.
According to Monica, Gerald and Michaela had been living with her, but she said she had not seen them in a few days.
They absconded, kind of like, gypsies would do.
Monica tells police she and Courtney had a fight and broke up a few days before he disappeared. But when she heard he was missing, she was distraught.
Monica tried to reach out to him via phone, but she wasn't able to get in contact with him. She believed something terrible had happened to Courtney, and she started crying.
Michaela was at the house at the time and asked why she was upset. She admitted she was crying over Courtney.
Instead of comforting her friend, Michaela says something that chills Monica to the bone.
That's when Michaela responded, "Oh, you're never gonna see him again."
When Monica asked what she meant by that, Michaela said, "This is about to be some First 48 stuff."
So that was a clear indication to Monica that her ex-boyfriend, Courtney, had been murdered.
Monica admits that she should have called the police right then and there, but she was scared and confused. She was hoping that Courtney would just come back home and everything would be back to normal.
Detectives ask Monica if she can give them any information that will help track down these potential killers.
Monica confirms to police that Gerald and Michaela do drive a white pickup truck, but she has no idea where they are now.
Then, Monica supplies them with one invaluable piece of information: Michaela's phone number.
Riddle's phone number, that's a key piece of evidence in any murder investigation. If we can get that phone number, then we can start doing work on that.
This is like gold for detectives. With this, they can track Michaela's general location.
Police are one step closer to getting justice for Courtney Palmer. Now, it's only a matter of time.
So they know that apprehending Gerald and Michaela is going to be the key to solving this case.
Of 2016, Tulsa police finally have a name for the female co-conspirator in the alleged murder of 23-year-old Courtney Palmer.
Police now believe that Gerald Lowe and Michaela Riddle are responsible for what happened to Courtney, but they still haven't found them or Courtney's body.
Now that they have Michaela's phone number, detectives hope it can lead them to where she and Gerald are hiding out.
Once Monica Scott was able to give us Michaela Riddle's phone number, we were able to get the GPS phone logs from the phone company, and then that gave us an area of town where there's several apartment complexes.
What's determined that the best course of action is for the police to just kind of slowly patrol these different apartment complexes and hotels in the hopes that they would be able to find this white pickup truck in one of the parking lots.
On December 4th, 2016, police finally find what they're looking for.
We located the white pickup, backed in, and then from there we were able to get that locked down, surrounded, surveillance set up on it. We were not going to lose the truck. Our intel person was able to locate and determine that Gerald Lowe's uncle stayed in an apartment right there where that truck was located. And then the investigation really starts to focus in on that particular area. We spend a number of hours surveillance on the truck, and then we decide to go up and knock on the door and get after Michaela Riddle and Gerald Lowe. It's kind of the most dangerous part of our investigation up to this point, because we're going to go and get two killers out of an apartment.
Prepared for the worst, police make their way to the apartment door.
We don't know what to expect. The most dangerous part was the actual confronting of Lowe and Riddle. And we decided to go in and pop the door open.
With tensions high, police enter the apartment. To their surprise, it appears empty.
Then we search an apartment for killers.
Realizing all hope is lost, Gerald Lowe comes out with his hands up.
We make voice contact with Lowe and we get him out, and Riddle is subsequently also found inside the apartment.
But Michaela is not going down without a fight.
Mostly I remember from them was Riddle's demeanor. She was just hateful and mean, and if she could hurt you, she would. So we had to be on our game to make sure we took her into custody without anybody else getting hurt or her getting hurt also. Lowe, on the other hand, was more agreeable. I think he realized that he was just going to take his chances explaining circumstances as opposed to fighting us at the apartment. Once they're in custody, it's kind of a sigh of relief.
Gerald and Michaela are placed in the squad cars while detectives scour the apartment for evidence.
It was obvious they were kind of couch surfing because their clothes were just there. They weren't hanging in the closet, so they weren't going to have a residence there. So it allows us to search a limited area, and then we're able to find the Cal sweatshirt, which is key to Riddle's involvement in this case.
Satisfied with the evidence collected, authorities take the couple back to the station for questioning. Up first in the hot seat is Gerald Lowe.
Detective White goes in there and explains why he's here. He kind of understands that, yeah, we're there for a reason. He knows what he did, but he still is in denial.
When confronted with Charletha Mack's statement about his and Michaela's involvement in Courtney's brutal murder, Gerald shuts down.
Obviously, he has the right to remain silent. He imparts that right to an attorney, and once that happens, we're kind of done. So we leave the room.
Hands tied with Gerald, detectives hope his girlfriend will be more helpful.
She's as hateful in the interrogation room as she was in the apartment. Not cooperative. She's telling us that we should all have that information. And of course we did. But usually what we want to do is start a conversation and gather some type of rapport with her. But she was unrapportable, if that's even a word.
Michaela plays dumb. She denies knowing Courtney Palmer, Charletha Mack, and Monica Scott. The only person she claims to know besides Gerald is Carl Duke Harris, the man many believed Courtney set up to be shot.
I do remember her making some comment throughout this case that Harris was her cousin, so there's family blood, if you can believe her.
Detectives try hitting her with the hard evidence.
When shown the still photographs from the surveillance video, she denies being the person in the video.
She was not going to have any of it from us, and basically the interview was shut down, mainly because it was obvious that she wasn't going to give us anything. She wasn't going to cooperate.
She demands to be taken to her cell so that she can go to sleep.
With neither suspect cooperating, it's more important than ever that investigators find Courtney's body if they hope to get convictions.
Detectives are afraid that they may not ever be able to find the body of Courtney Palmer.
But before long, they'll get another tip that could help them do just that.
The caller says that Courtney's body was fed to pigs.
The scene was horrendous.
It was just awful, the disregard that was shown for the young man.
December 2016. Police in Tulsa, Oklahoma finally have their prime suspects in custody for the tragic disappearance and alleged murder of 23-year-old Courtney Palmer.
Investigators believe Gerald Lowe and Michaela Riddle tortured Courtney for hours and ultimately strangled him to death.
Obviously, after the arrest, we still have to locate Courtney's body. We want to put Courtney out there on the media. Here are the people that are involved. We show the truck, we show Lowe, we show Riddle.
And it doesn't take long for another tip to come in.
The next day, we get a phone call from Muskogee. So it all starts to roll downhill at that point in locating Courtney.
According to the tipster, Gerald had been seen living in an abandoned farmhouse miles away in Summit, Oklahoma.
Apparently this area used to be a pig farm, or somebody raised pigs there before. It was just kind of a desolate country area. There was a neighbor who lived next door who knew Mr. Lowe, who had said he had seen him there around the time these events were happening.
They head out to Summit in search of Courtney's remains, or the pigs who ate them.
We're able to locate the house that the caller called in after viewing our media presentation and search the premises.
Inside the dark, abandoned home, investigators scour for any sign of Courtney or evidence that might connect their perps to the scene.
They actually find a vacuum erection device and a sock. They know they can test these for DNA and hopefully tie Gerald and Michaela back to the scene.
Unfortunately, they don't find any other evidence, such as the pocket knife used against Courtney. They don't find the plastic tub that the couple supposedly used to transport the body.
In the backyard, investigators don't find any pigs, but they do find something very disturbing.
In a fire pit was the remnants of a human body.
The body was found just burned in a heap on a mattress, I believe.
The body there that was burned in the fire pit is unrecognizable to us. It's obviously a human skull. You can see that. So we know we have a body, but we know who we're looking for. At that point, I think we were confident that that's going to be Courtney's body.
The remains are sent to the lab for DNA testing. And it is confirmed that they are, in fact, Courtney Palmer's.
We were able to make notification to Courtney's family at that time. Every time we tell a family their loved one is dead, and it doesn't matter if it's a Courtney Palmer with a rap sheet or somebody that is 18 years old that doesn't have a rap sheet, the reaction is the same. The family cries, and they should, and it hurts. And that takes a little piece of us too.
Lab DNA results also come back on the sock and the vacuum erection device found inside the abandoned home. It's a match to Gerald Lowe and Michaela Riddle.
Michaela and Gerald were charged originally with assault with intent to kill because we didn't have the body, obviously. Once Courtney's body was discovered in Muskogee, we upgraded the charge to first-degree murder.
Charletha Mack is also charged with accessory to murder.
Mack was charged with accessory to a felony, and that's, obviously because it was her house. She didn't call, she didn't intervene.
As investigators build their case for trial, they begin piecing together what led up to Courtney Palmer's gruesome homicide.
It all started on November 8th, 2016, when Carl Duke Harris was shot in an apartment complex.
Duke was Michaela's cousin. She, Duke, and Gerald were really close.
From what investigators can gather, Courtney was the one that dropped Duke off at the apartment. So that's where the rumors about Courtney being behind Duke's shooting started. Michaela and Gerald had bought into the rumors, hook, line, and sinker.
Gerald was used to meeting violence with violence.
Michaela did not have a violent criminal background like Gerald. She had never been involved in anything like this. But she trusted her man, and she agreed to go with the plan.
Michaela loved Gerald so much, she was willing to do whatever he wanted.
On the night of November 10th, Gerald and Michaela went to Charletha Mack's house and waited for Courtney to show up.
Around 3 a.m., Courtney arrived. He was talking to Charletha when Gerald and Michaela attacked, attempting to get him to admit to setting up Duke.
They tortured and beat him to death after he refused to admit that he was involved in the shooting of Duke Harris.
Once Courtney was dead, they loaded his body in a plastic tub and drove it out to the old farmhouse where Gerald sometimes stayed.
Investigators believe the first thing they did when they arrived was have sex on a mattress in the abandoned house.
They then went outside and set Courtney's body on fire along with the mattress they just used.
Soon, police will learn that this crime was even more senseless than they could have imagined.
Turns out Duke Harris is alive. He survived the shooting, and he is adamant Courtney had nothing to do with setting him up.
Michaela and Gerald had done all this to Courtney for nothing.
I think the main thing about this case that stood out to me was it was so heinous. I don't want to make murder sound like it's run-of-the-mill, but this wasn't a run-of-the-mill murder. I mean, the parties involved in this case went to great lengths to torture Courtney, to dispose of his body in a disrespectful way, but the torture of it, I think, was very disturbing to me. You didn't normally see crimes committed in this horrific of a manner in the Black community.
Investigators in Tulsa, Oklahoma, are building their case against suspects Gerald Lowe and Michaela Riddle. The couple is accused of torturing 23-year-old Courtney Palmer to death over an unsupported rumor.
So the rumor is that Courtney set up Carl Duke Harris to be shot on November 8th. But police have not been able to substantiate the claim that Courtney was behind it. All Courtney did was drop Duke off at the apartment where he was shot.
And soon, investigators receive stunning news that proves Courtney's murder was just as senseless as they thought.
Carl Harris did recover from the gunshot wounds. Whether it's a full recovery, I'm sure you shot 6 or 7 times. You're going to feel it for the rest of your life. But as far as I know, he's up and mobile.
With Carl Duke Harris healed enough to speak, detectives are able to ask him about the night he was shot.
Duke says he doesn't know who the shooter was, but is 100% certain that Courtney did not set him up.
Courtney was innocent all along.
You know, it was really unfortunate that his life would be cut short over a rumor. There was no evidence or proof that he was involved in the shooting of Duke.
Prosecutors make a deal with Charletha Mack. In exchange for 2 years in prison and 18 years on parole, she agrees to testify against Gerald and Michaela in court.
And she pleads guilty to her accessory charge.
From everything that came out with Lowe and Riddle, this was not going to end well for them.
In December 2019, faced with the death penalty, Gerald Lowe pleads guilty to all the charges against him. Kidnapping, first-degree murder, committing a gang-related offense, and desecration of a human corpse. He is sentenced to life in prison plus 5 years.
In Gerald Lowe's case, I was the sole fact finder and sentencing authority, if you will. He didn't have the benefit of a jury. As a judge, I weigh all the facts and what his role was in the event, and in my opinion, I gave him the sentence that I thought he deserved.
In early 2020, Michaela Riddle decides to take her chances at trial.
With regard to Michaela, I think the defense strategy was to hone in on how horrible her life had been and how she would do anything to keep the love of Gerald Lowe.
Luckily for Michaela, the jury is convinced.
When the case goes to jury, they agree that Gerald was the mastermind behind the murder and that Michaela took part in the horrific crime to make him happy.
Michaela's charges are reduced to second-degree murder, kidnapping, and desecration of a corpse. She is sentenced to 49 years in prison.
The big difference between what Miss Riddle got and what Mr. Lowe got was she went to a jury trial and she had 12 people deciding her fate. He had me.
Do I think that justice was served? Looking back at it, knowing that Michaela got 49 years, I would have liked to have seen life without parole.
Michaela will forever have to live with the guilt of taking a young father away from his family for something he didn't even do.
She was only involved in this kind of activity because she wanted to hang on to somebody who she thought loved her.